Meanwhile, the South African Policing Union is calling for the reinstatement of specialized units following a number of mass shootings. Statistics show that 3,144 people were killed using a firearm between October and December. Sapu spokesperson Lesiba Thobakgale joins us now for more on this. Lesiba, good evening. Good to have you once again. Thank you very much for your time. I think it's safe to say that efforts to curb crime have not yielded the expected results, which means the strategy that we have been putting in place is seemingly not giving us the outcomes that we would like to see as far as the trajectory of crime, and particularly when we are talking about crime committed using firearms. What are the contextual issues, except for what we normally speak about, well, you know, hierarchy, issues around leadership and so on and so forth. But what are the contextual issues around the strategy that are currently not working?
Thank you, Butabo, for having us, and greetings to your viewers back at home tonight. What we have observed as Sapu is clear that the current strategy that is being utilized by the South African police services to curb crime, more especially when we look at the types of crimes that are related to firearms, it is clearly not working. The issue of the lack of manpower, it contributes even more to this not working. And the call that we've always been making, specifically to the re-establishment of a firearms unit, it is the one that we strongly hold a view that it will curb the issue of crimes that we are seeing in this country, more especially when we look at murder, when we look at carjackings, when we look at cash in transits, when we also look at police killings as well, which indeed are quite problematic to us as a union. For the very same firearms are the firearms that are being utilized by criminals against members of the society. Those are the very same firearms that will go clearly to go and terrorize the police and also kill them. So we have seen that those strategies that were being utilized by SAPS management to go and form a task team whenever residents in a specific area would complain and say that call on the minister or call on SAPS management to do something about high levels of crime. Those task teams are not sustainable. Indeed, you happen to starve other police stations of the human capital and also the physical resources themselves. Then it boils back to say you need a permanent solution, and a firearms unit, those who would really specialize in going to make sure that all illegal firearms are gathered, all illegal firearms are taken away from the hands of the criminals whom are terrorizing our communities. So the task team strategy is not working. And each time when a crime has occurred, we continue to see those task teams being formed, but the end results thereof are not there. So we are saying that a solution to this is to bring in clearly permanent solutions by having a firearms unit. Remember, Mutabo, a firearms unit is the one that will trace different types of firearms. They work closely with crime intelligence in order to ensure that they include even our communities. Because those who are terrorizing our communities, they live in our communities. They know clearly who is responsible for what. They know the type of criminality. They even know where these criminals are taking their firearms from. Where are they keeping them at? So we need to work hand in hand, especially the police working hands in glove with the members of the community, not seated at one side, the other one blaming the other one blaming the other, because without holding hands together, we will not win against crime. But one of the permanent solutions that we have always been saying that it needs to be done as a matter of agency, it is the re-establishment specifically of the firearms unit.
Yeah. What capacity would this unit need to have, and do we have that capacity already existing within the South African police? So is it a case of just partitioning a couple of guys in each region, in each metropolitan, to say you are part of the firearms unit and that will be your focus? Or is it something that you would need to bring in that capacity and those skills?
Currently, we still have members who belong to the previous specialized units, the ones that were closed, I think it was around 2004, by the late National Commissioner. some of those members are still there clearly within the South African Police Services. So you can have them and also include even those who are coming from the colleges as well, or those who have just recently joined the South African Police Services, because you need now the skills of those old members who really know how to trace these illegal firearms, because they have that speciality which they can elsewhere, their very same expertise, be able to transfer those expertise to the new members or to those who maybe are not experienced as them. It is not like you need to go and look for people who are not there in the system. You still have them in the system. What is needed now, currently, it is just a political will to say that let us have this firearms unit, and including like your murder and robbery and the rest of all those specialized units that we were talking about. And it is a pity that when we made this call as Sapu that we need to have re-establishment of specialized units, it fell on deaf ear. We saw no political will clearly upon it. So the issue of capacity, it really using the old and also factoring those who just recently joined in the system, then it could really work, because what you need there, it is more on skills and with the continuing increase of capacity, those members coming in, receiving even more skills from those who were there for a long time, that could really assist. But with people folding hands saying that maybe because South African Police Services does not have enough manpower, then you cannot really petition or re-establish those specialized units. It is not going to assist us. We'll keep on seeing members of the communities crying about murders that are so thrive within our communities. We'll continue to see the numbers of police officers being murdered like they are being murdered now. It is something that is continuing, and that on its own, it is starving the SAPS itself, because to train a police officer, it is not something that you can do overnight. It really takes time.
So one could ask Lesiba to say, with the units that we already have, and we'll talk a little bit more about your call for the reestablishment of the abandoned ones, but the ones, for example, that are specifically looking at, let's look at the Cape Flats, for example. You've got an anti-gang unit that is operating there. How effective is that particular specialized unit in doing what it is supposed to do, for us to be confident enough to say, well, if we have more specialized units, we are going to get these type of results?
I think there we need to be specific that our call and even what was agreed upon during the time we were under consultation on the issue of restructuring in the bargaining council, we said we need to have anti-gang units across the country so that you can be able to contain it. And because we have said that, as we have observed that, there happen to be gang-related incidents that happens to mushroom within communities. We have seen that in Gauteng and so on. And maybe just to answer you specifically in terms of the effectiveness of the anti-gang unit in the Western Cape, they are effective, the successes that they are making. But it is a pity that they do not receive full support from management there, because they happen to be tabs of, commanders there, whoever is pushing, some of them pushing their own agendas. So they end up even not having enough resources themselves to do what they are supposed to execute. So without giving members the full support that they need, without giving them full resources, even the work that they do, it happens not to become a full success as such, because without management backing them, management being united on the rest of all issues that the members have to face in order to fight crime there. Remember, you need a motivated member. You need a member who is happy at work for them to make sure that they bring the desired results that they need. They need to have cars that are indeed worth for the task for them to be able to perform those duties. So it is our belief that if we can continue to have even more of those anti-gang units, as we have agreed. It's not something that we're just talking about.
No, indeed.
It's not coming from SAPS management. Indeed, it will arrest. We have seen here around Gauteng that the issue of gangsterism, it is also happened to be mushrooming. So we need to arrest the issue of gangsterism before it could mushroom even into other provinces and so on. And by having those units, not to wait for them to mushroom, at that time now you become reactive. You need to be proactive when you deal with issues like that.
So last year, you'll remember, I think it was around July or so, when we saw that incident in Krugersdorp, you came and then you called for the re-establishment of the diamonds, gold and precious stones unit, saying this could certainly help in addressing the question of illegal mining in the country. Now, according to reports, it was said at the time that unit was closed by former police commissioner Jackie Silebe. So one would think there was some kind of political interference in closing that unit. To what end? Of course, it's something that we would still need to get to the bottom of. But do you think there is a particular reason why, for example, a firearms unit would have been closed?
Remember those units, all of them, they were closed at the same time. Like we said, during the reign of the former late National Commissioner Jackie Silebe, which even that decision itself, to us, we really do not believe that it was a reasonable reason. It really did not make sense. Why would you really close down units that were working? And the challenge that we have with South Africa, more especially when it comes to safety and security, and even when it comes to policing, we happen to be reactive. We happen to see a problem escalating. After a problem has escalated, then we become reactive. Kante, you really need to make sure that even prior to an issue getting out of hand, you need to manage that situation and make sure that you have permanent solutions that indeed can make sure that the very same challenge of crime that you have observed in terms of the crime analysis, crime threats analysis, so that you can have it contained. That on its own, it leads to a disaster. At the end of the day, you find that without having those specialized units re-established, I think this call, Gutabo, we have been, we made it a while ago, but there is just no political will. All we'll continue to see is crime that is going up time and again, members of the society, including our members, being the victims of crime and losing their lives. And at the end of the day, there is no permanent solution that is coming. I think it is about time that South Africa and government, and more especially even also the SAPS management and the police ministry, need to take these issues that we are raising, because we know about what is it that worked before. If it has worked for you, why don't you bring it back for it to continue working for you in order to assist you, so that when you pump resources, you can pump them in the right direction, and those resources can yield results to curb crime. And you can agree with us as Sapu that for the previous quarters, we have seen that crime has never went down. Since the lockdown, crime has always been going up. So that on its own is an indication that the current strategy is not working. You need to reevaluate and look at other means that could work. And here there's an advantage that SAPS has, because the establishment of specialized units has worked before. You just need to have a political will and indeed make sure that they are re-established.
Lesiba, much appreciated as always. Thanks for coming on. Spokesperson for Sapu, Lesiba Thobakgale there, calling for specialized units to be re-established, certainly to deal with the proliferation of illegal firearms in the country.